Hey guys, I'm the Dragon's Beard and I'm back with another Raid Shadow Legends video, and today we're going to be taking a trip back into the clan boss, and it is finally Turvold time. So if you've been around the channel from the beginning, you'll know that Turvold is my favorite champion. I love his design. He's got that giant sword, kind of that Viking Norse feel to him. Amazing champion. I love the commercials that they've done featuring him and what have. We are going to dust him off. I haven't used him very much recently since I was just doing a bad eater before all these Demytha comps. But we're finally going to bring him back and put him into the Demytha teams. So I'm going to be taking the Myth-Eirress 3-1 that I started with in the last clan boss video I did with Anax. We're going to put Turvold in his place. And he needs to be faster in that team, so what we're going to do is compare that fast 3-1 ratio version of Turvold to the other Myth-Eirress comp where he runs at 2-1 and can run much slower. Real quick before we take a look at the team, I did want to give just a quick channel update. The support you guys are showing me is astronomical. So almost a month ago we were at 533 subscribers, and then between some help that I've gotten from Scratch and Deadwood Jedi, and then most recently Stu Gaming, some of you came over to my channel from the videos or features that they've done on some of my content. So if you came from one of those places, I just have a sincere thank you for you. You're really helping the channel grow and pop off more than I ever would have believed. I kind of initially said that I was going for 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and we blew that out of the water. So since we're at 1211 now, I have already applied for the Raid Content Creator Program since I meet the requirements for Tier 1, and it takes them a little while to come back from those to hear back from those applications. So I'm kind of waiting with bated breath there. So if you haven't taken the time to subscribe yet, hop down there and do that. It's completely free. As soon as we get into Tier 1, I'm going to be chasing Tier 2, which is at the 3,000 sub mark. So I'm looking forward to getting this content out for you so that you can continue to see what I have in store, first of which being the video right now. Alright guys, so let's talk about the teams and what we're going after here. So the first one I'm going to show you is the 3-1 version of the team, and it's actually very, very similar to the Anax team that I showed you a couple of videos ago. So it's the standard Myth-Eirress. We've got Deacon, Seeker, and Demytha that are in the exact same builds as they were for that video, so nothing changed there. We brought Turvold in place to Anax since he's going to bring that weaken. Remember, Deacon already has the decreased defense covered, so we don't necessarily need that part of Anax's kit. And then because Turvold is not a poisoner, whereas Anax was, we have changed Eiress's build for the 3-1 version. I've taken her out of just mixed sets, put her into a toxic set. She's got that counterattack, and she's got 2 other abilities that she attacks with during each clan boss turn. So that's 3 chances for that toxic set to proc, and she's a really great candidate for that. So the reason why this works is that that team has a 100% uptime on increased speed. So when Turvold comes in and uses his A2, we don't have to turn the A2 off. He's going to take the extra turn, lose the increased speed buff that Eirress puts up, but then he's going to replace that with his own. And since that increased speed buff is up at the beginning and the end of his turn, it doesn't affect his speed tune at all. So really the only thing we're going to have to do is keep his true speed the same way that it was for Anax. And then I think we have to add a delay to his A2 turn just to make sure that he's not putting up that buff before Eirress does. So that's kind of the concept here as far as how that works. Now I have already changed the builds from what I was using in that team. So I do have this little infographic that I'm going to kind of show you. And let me get off the screen here. What we have is any of the ones on the left side that say old. The old build is what I was using with the 3-1 version. So on the middle column where it says new, those are going to be the stats for the 2-1 versions of the builds. So you're going to see all the champions get a little bit slower for the 2-1 version, a huge speed drop off for Turvold, and in the process we can pack in more attack, we can pack in more crit damage, and with those extra offensive stats, even though we're not hitting as often from Turvold, he's going to put up bigger hits. And we're going to see basically which one comes out on top. So that's kind of the whole concept of this. If you're building the Myth-Eirress with Turvold, which one do you want to do? Do you want to do the faster 3-1 or do you want to do the slower 2-1? So the footage for the 3-1 version I've got pre-recorded. The setup is full auto. It's the exact same as what it was in the Anax team, and the same AI preferences and configuration to make that work on full auto. The only thing that we're going to need to do to make it different is that for Turvold, we're going to want him to open with his A3, and then that's going to give us a 1-turn delay on his A2 with the extra turn. So that's going to let Eirress put up that increased speed buff, and then he's going to come right now and take hers off and then replace it with his own, which just happened. So at that point, the pattern will repeat. So you've got the A3, then the A2, A1, then A3, then A2, A1. And the reason why I set it up to where he opened with the A3 instead of the A1 is that it makes his buffs line up more. You'll see in the calculator towards the end. It makes his buffs line up to where he has more buffs each time he uses his A3 versus his A1. So that's kind of the reason why it's set up that way. So this is a long fight. I'm actually going to jump to the end, show you the final damage, and then when we come back to the 2-to-1 version, since that one is new for the channel, I'll spend more time on that and kind of show you what's going on. All right, so here we are. We didn't quite make it to the 100 million mark with the 3-to-1 version, but 96.5 almost. Deacon doing a little over 10 million, Demytha doing 6.2, Seeker nearly 12, and then Heiress, once you put that toxic set on her at that 3-to-1 ratio, it can really shoot her damage up through the roof. I think she was in like the 12 to 14 million range in the Annex version of the team, but then with the toxic set, 18.5. Amazing for a rare. And again, she wasn't even level 60 when I recorded this. And then for Turvold, he's the real star of the show. Almost 50 million damage by running at that 3-to-1 ratio. So even with the high speeds and a little bit lower damage stats, him and the buffs that are going on the team, he can really smack. You know, against Spirit, you're going to have to take him out and you're going to have to put in some other substitute DPS like Brackus or Geomancer or Rosin. But I think that even if they come in and they do half as much damage as he does, you're still going to be almost at a 1 key, if not there. I think Brackus would be able to do it, not probably Rosin because there's no increased defense in the team. But that's just to protect Heiress from getting stunned because just like in the last video, if you run only one Force Champion, she's going to take the stun and she can't cleanse herself to get rid of that stun. So anybody else on the team can get stunned except for her. So I am going to flip back over into the live version of the game. I'll show you the builds for the 2-to-1 version. That's the one that I'm currently running. And then we'll take that one for a spin and see if we can do more damage than this. All right, so I'm back over in the live version of the game. These are the 2-to-1 versions of the builds. The same stats as what I actually showed in that infographic earlier, but this is what I currently have them in. So Turvold way slower in the 2-to-1 version compared to the 3-to-1 at 158 speed, 6600 attack. I have him 3% crit rate short of that 70 that he needs to be at. But the reason why I did this, and the optimizer it actually showed as the most optimum build, because by sacrificing that 3% crit rate, I was able to put about 30% higher crit damage on him. So that's the reason why it looks like that. And then the accuracy might seem a little bit low. I usually try to build my Ultra Nightmare champions to around 250, but he has a chance to put that weaken up every single turn. And we don't need him to be in the defense tree, so he can run the Master Hexer and Sniper Masteries. So I think 229 will be fine. I didn't really have any issues when I was running this with weaken up time. So that's what we have from Turvold. And then for Demytha, she is in a slightly slower build than what the 3-to-1 version had her at. So she's at 275, a little easier to attain. I didn't worry too much about as much offense stats on her. She's at 3k attack, she's crit capped, and she has a little bit of crit damage on her. Those are really the only things that matter for her, but she's here to empower the team and make it work. She's not necessarily here to smack hard. And remember, since she's got that extension and the block damage as 2 out of her 3 abilities, she's only got 1 that's actually a hit. So there's Demytha. And then next up would be Seeker and Deacon as your turn meter boosters. So it's this Seeker here. He is in mixed sets. A little slower as well versus the 3-to-1 version at 169. He runs at a 2-to-1 ratio in the team. I got him over 4k attack, 4200. He's crit capped and he's got 250 crit damage. We don't need accuracy on him since his provoke doesn't matter. For Deacon, you do need to have accuracy on him because he, since Anax is not in the team, we're relying on his decreased defense. So I've got him in a speed and perception. By the way, I've had a lot of YouTube comments about people asking about why their tunes aren't working, what have. When you're putting your speeds in the calculator, you have to put in how many perception sets, and you have to put in how many speed sets, and also whether they have the lower steel mastery. It's kind of fundamentals of making the calculator work right, but that has been the #1 reason why people have had their tunes fail when they're trying to plug in their own speeds, is they forget to put in those sets and what have. So he is at just under 4,000 attack. He's 186 speed, also slower than what he was in the 2-to-1. I think the 2-to-1 version he was like 198. He's almost crit capped. He's got 235 crit damage, and then we do need that accuracy for him for the decreased defense. And then last up will be Heiress. So this is her toxic set build, and she is 3,700 attack. This is kind of as high as I could get her with her low base attack as well as toxic, because she has to be quite fast as well at 241. And then she is crit capped with 151 crit damage. I do not need this much accuracy on her. It's just a banner that I had that had enough speed to get her fast and in toxic gear, so don't think that you need the accuracy to do the toxic poisons. The toxic and the artifact based poisons do not need any accuracy at all to apply, so keep that in mind. Okay, guys, before I show you the AI, everybody in the comments is always saying they want to see the masteries. Keep in mind, if I don't show you the masteries, I'm doing that on purpose because they might not match the best masteries for the build I'm showing you. I change comps way too much. And this is on my live account, so I'm spending gems every time I have to do that. So a lot of times I'm just leaving them as is. If there's nothing in the mastery set that causes a problem, I'm just going to leave them with what they had. But I'll kind of explain to you what I would change. So the offense tree is pretty much what I would want on my Turvold if I was building it from scratch. He has Heart of Glory since he's going to be at full HP for most of the fight. And then he's got War Master in the offense tree. And then for the defense tree, this Retribution doesn't do anything. That's from when he was in a Man-Eater team that I was running. The only thing that the defense tree is really offering is a few times throughout the fight, like 3-4 times throughout the fight, a chance to proc deterrence whenever somebody on the team takes the stun. So I would prefer building from scratch to do support tree to pick up the extra accuracy from those masteries. And then also Lure Steel for bonus attack from Cruel Gear, and then Sniper and Master Hexer for just better weekend uptime. So that's how I would be building him if I was just doing it from scratch. So for Demytha, she's in kind of another for a different team comp. She's got War Master straight down. She's got one chance to proc that every cycle since she's at the 3-1. I have Steadfast on her for a different team. In this team, it doesn't matter if she gets stunned because Heiress is cleansing her. But in the other team I was running, I needed to protect her, which is the reason why I put the Steadfast Mastery on. You do not have to do that. And then I just put her in Lure Steel to have a chance to do get extra speed from their speed sets. And then Sniper and Master Hexer for this team, or for this Demytha, do nothing. I just wanted the red dots to go away, so that's the reason why I spent those points. And then for Seeker and Deacon, like Seeker I'm going to show you, these are his old Bad Eater Masteries. Again, same deal. Defense tree isn't doing much. You don't want Grim Resolve in this team. You want Heart of Glory. The rest of the stuff would look good in the offense tree. And then I don't even have Deterrence since I haven't even gotten all of his scrolls. So in this team, you'd probably want him either in Lure Steel for extra stats, or you would want to go ahead and get those extra scrolls to get Deterrence. There's not really much benefit from the second tree that Seeker gets. And then for Deacon, let's see. Same deal. I've got him in my old Batman Salad Eater Masteries. So he goes down to War Master. You would want to pick. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and pick Heart of Glory just because it's available. And then he's got Deterrence for that chance to counter. You could also do the same thing as Turvold, as I was talking about, picking up the accuracy talents, Lure Steel, as well as Sniper and Master Hexer. That might be a better benefit versus the defense tree for this specific team. And then let's see what's left. Heiress. So for Heiress, her build is kind of what I would want because she's one of the newest champions that I didn't already have built. Where's she at? Okay, so I've got her going down to War Master. I've got Heart of Glory, which is what you want. And then I've got her, the accuracy talents, doesn't matter. She doesn't benefit from accuracy. But I did want to have Lure Steel for connecting to these two. These are the two that are important. You want Sniper because this 5% chance does work in Toxic set. And then you want Master Hexer because it can extend the poisons from the Toxic set. So that's kind of the reason why I've got her offense tree, or her support tree, looking the way that it does. So let's pop over to the AI. I'll show you the configuration for the 2-to-1 version, and then we'll show you that run. All right, so I've got the team pre-configured in here. The way that the AI is set up is mostly just to simulate the delays that I'm going to show you in the calculator. So Deacon opens with his A1, which provides a 1-turn delay on his A2, and then a 2-turn delay on his A3, which is what works for full auto. For Demytha, same deal. She's going to open with her A3, and then you want her to prioritize the A2 ahead of the A3. She's going to just go in a rhythm of all three in order, since these are both 3-turn cooldowns. So this is what you want it to look like to make that happen. For Seeker, he really just needs a 1-turn delay on his A2, so we're going to set the A1 as an opener. For Heiress, the reason why you want to go ahead and program in her A2 as a first priority is that sometimes if she already has increased speed, she will not use it and refresh her buff. So just put that in as first priority, and that's going to make her use it on cooldown. That is important. If you skip that, it might mess up. And then for Turvold, this is kind of what I was showing in the beginning of the last fight. You just want to have him open with his A3, and that's to put it in sync to where the A3 is going to happen while Turvold has more buffs rather than less buffs. And he's going to do the rest of what he needs to on his own. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and kick this off here since it's full auto. No setup other than that custom AI I just showed you. So the beginning of this fight is going to look almost exactly like the beginning of the 2-to-1 or the 3-to-1 version of the fight, because you've got the 1 turn delay on Turvold. Eirress already has that increased speed buff up, and then when it cycles back around to Turvold, he's going to use his A2. He's going to take Eirress's speed buff and replace it with his own, which I think is about to happen next. So there we go. And then he's got his speed buff, and then that's the reason why he's able to run at the same speeds or same true speeds as what a normal DPS would, even though he has that buff. Eirress cleanse, and there we are. Everything should be hunky-dory for the rest of the encounter since we are in sync by turn count 2. So just like the first one, really long fight. Instead of jump cutting to the end, I'm going to go ahead and let it play through. I'll just speed it up for you, and then I'll join you at the end. All right, so here we are. We barely broke into the triple digits. 101.19. We actually hit 100 million on the final turn of the fight. So Deacon doing a little bit more, 12.6. I think he was just over 10 last time. Demytha 6.7 compared to her 6.2. Seeker didn't really change much at 12 mil. Heiress picked up a million, 19.4, by having her speeds a little bit lower into a better build. And then for Turvold, this is the impressive one. So he's doing an entire one less attack. By running at 2-to-1 versus 3-to-1, but because so much of his damage is raw damage based, that extra attack he loses is made up by the fact that he's able to hit that much harder. And he has a couple more buffs with his A3 just because he doesn't have that extra turn in there to make him lose those buffs. If you put Blood Shield on him, he would even be doing more damage than this, but I don't have any of that with offensive stats for Barbarians. So if you are trying to decide whether you want to build the 3-to-1 version of the team versus the 2-to-1 version of the team, and you like Turvold like me, I would recommend building the 2-to-1 version. It's easier to get to the speeds, and as you can see, it's able to do more damage by packing in more of those offensive stats compared to the faster 3-to-1 version. So for like Ninja, for example, since he has so much of his damage coming from those ticks of the HP burn, you want him faster. For Anax as a poisoner, you want him faster. But for Turvold, who just smacks and smacks and smacks, having him slower and hitting harder is a perfectly fine strategy. I did want you guys to have a chance to see this in the calculator, so let me get off the screen here. So first up is going to be the 3-to-1 version of the team. So you can see that if you just plug Turvold in, he doesn't quite work at the same true speed as what Anax was. But as soon as you give him that 1-turn delay, then you'll see everything else falls back in sync to where you've got in turn 2, Heiress going at the top and cleansing, and then Demytha going at the bottom and doing the block damage. And then that will work for the rest of the way. This will also go in Nightmare. It stays in sync, same way, and then in Brutal. So that is for the 3-to-1 version. That's the only thing you need to change versus the first version that I showed you of this team, and that is to add the 1-turn delay to Turvold. Okay, so we're over here at the 2-to-1 speeds now, and you'll see the same thing happens. Heiress at the top doing the cleanse, and then Demytha at the bottom doing the block damage, which repeats itself indefinitely. Now with Turvold, you will see that it'll stay in sync whether he has his 1-turn delay on his A2 or not. But there's a very important reason why we're doing the 1-turn delay. So his double turn without the delay is at the top. So if you run Blood Shield for an artifact or accessory, then what will happen is as soon as he takes this double turn, it will fall off, and then you'll lose it by the time he uses his A3. But if you add on the delay, then it moves his double turn down in the turn order, and then he will have 5 buffs for his A3, 6 buffs if you're counting Blood Shield, and you don't have to worry about falling off because that's the first thing he's doing each cycle, repeating indefinitely. So you do want to make sure that you have that 1-turn delay on Turvold for that reason. Same deal if you toggle it to Nightmare, same deal. If you toggle it to Brutal, it stays the same. It does fall out of sync on Hard. So there's the calculator. I will have both of the links to the 3-to-1 and the 2-to-1 versions of the calculator in the description, so you can follow that with the speeds pre-filled in, and you can plug in your speeds and speed sets and masteries and see if all your combination of gear will work the way that it's supposed to. So again, if I was to choose which one I was building and recommend, I would say to do the 2-to-1 version, just because, again, it's easier to meet the speeds, and you can see it will be able to do more damage. So I wouldn't even worry about the 3-to-1. I would stick with the one that I'm showing you right here. Alright guys, that's going to be all for this one. I hope you enjoyed seeing Turvold back in action putting up big numbers against the clan boss, because we know how good he is at doing that. So I don't want to completely move on from this team just yet. I want to try some other DPS options, specifically Force DPS, to see if we can get something that works as a reliable one key without having to do substitutes. So thinking about like how the Myth Fu does, where you've got Fu Shan built into the team as a stun tank, I want to see if maybe Geomancer or Rosin could do something like that in this team. Or if I had Brackus, I think he would be able to do it just because of how much damage he does and bring in the weaken. So I'm going to fool around with some of that stuff, see what I can put together, and if I am able to get something that I think is useful enough, then I'll throw that on the channel as well. Until then, I've got some other things planned out and in store for you. I want to do some arena content here soon. Because I've got a lot of arena enjoyers in my clan, and we're always talking trash against each other. So we're going to maybe try to do a plat push and see if I've got the competitive edge. So until then, I've been the Dragonsbeard. Thanks for watching.